Hi everyone, I'm Carrie and this is The Creative Obsession. Today is April 12th, 2018, and I want to thank you all for being here. If you are new to the channel, this is my little channel where I talk about all things crafty and creative, primarily knitting and quilting, but I do throw in some other crafts as I get inspired to do them. You can find me on Instagram and in my Etsy shop and Ravelry. Ravelry, I'm Carrie S. And the other two, I am The Creative Obsession. I'll have links to those places and anything that I talk about that has a link, website, product page, something like that, I will link in the description box below the video. So you can find all that in the show notes below. So, sorry, my allergies are starting to kick in, so my nose is a little bit itchy. But, hi, I have a bunch of stuff. I have a lot of stuff to share with you, so I have a feeling this is going to be a little bit of a fuller episode. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. If you notice my beautiful background, so that is a fabric panel that I just recently received. I ordered it online, and when I had first seen this, oh, I don't know, a couple months ago, it was like, oh, that would be so pretty if I just quilted it just as it is, make it a wall hanging, and just kind of play with thread and design and color and just quilt it. So I just received it not too long ago, and that is my plan. Right now it's not quilted, it's just a piece of fabric. But it's going to be quilted, and I may end up just having that be in my background because it's just so pretty, and I've run out of most of my quilts to show you. So yeah, so not pretty. I just love it when when you do panels or purchase panels, sometimes they can look really good online, and then you go to purchase them and they're like, that doesn't look the same as it looks online. But this is really pretty. It's even really pretty in person. So I may hang it up in my space that I've now made into my yarn office that I had talked about a few episodes ago. It's in a loft area and it's just not cute. And so that would maybe hang in there. I don't know. Right now I'm just enjoying watching it. So this is my regular design wall. I had covered it with a piece of fabric when I did the table runner tutorial, just to have sort of a more interesting, darker background behind me, and I've just left it up because I kind of like it. As I need it as for a actual design wall to put quilt blocks on, I'll take the fabric down, but I think it works pretty good because my hair is so light, and up against the gray I think I kind of wash out, and this is just perfect. So this is how it is for now. I've been doing a lot of knitting. I've done some quilting. Today's allergy day. I did just finish quilting a quilt for the Mama Made It Quilt Shop, which is a quilt shop I've talked about in the past lots of times. My friend Jenny owns the shop, and I've done a lot of quilting for her shop for samples and things like that she makes if she's making a pattern or whatever. And so she's just recently started doing some of her more basic quilting for herself. So I haven't been doing as much of it, but when she says, when I have something I want done special, then I'm going to have you do it. So I wanted to show that to you. It doesn't show up so good when I hang it on the design wall, which is why I didn't hang it up back there. But it's based off of her Bees in the Farm quilt. I think that's what it is. I'll move my notes over. And so she, instead of making a giant quilt, she made it's going to be a baby quilt for her first grandchild, which is super exciting. So there you have it. You can see some of the quilting I did in the border. I don't know, it's hard to show. And then the bee. And so it's just, she just took 4 of the blocks and then did a fun border. And here, let me stand up. There you go. The wings could have been darker, in my opinion, because I don't feel like the wings stand out enough, but that's just a fabric choice. And I told her that and she agreed with me, but I think it was based on what she had to work with. So cute quilt. And it's funny because I haven't quilted as much for her recently. You know, I went to do this and I'm hurting from it. That's one of the reasons why I stopped quilting for customers, because as I've mentioned before, I used to long arm for customers, is because it was starting to just really affect my neck and my shoulders. And just doing that baby quilt and doing the custom work on it, like today, I'm just like really sore. I have a headache. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I don't do that anymore. But it was fun to work on. I love working on her quilts because she's a very good quilt maker. And so I know that things are going to be measured well, put together well. It's all good. So that was my most recent finish. So now that that's off, I don't have anything in the planning stage of Jenny needing me to quilt for her. So I might get that one back on. I don't have background for it. Backing. I did recently get some backing for another quilt that I had made a few years ago that is just a top. I never finished it because it was more about the process of making the quilt for me and playing with some of the colors. And I had it hanging over my long arm in the last episode, so you may have gotten a glimpse of that. So I bought some backing fabric and I'm gonna quilt it. I had intended to quilt it with custom quilting because there's a lot of what they call negative space, which is like a solid, no printed fabric. And so you can really play in those areas with quilting. And I just don't know if I'm up for it. I may just do something that just goes all across the whole thing just to get it quilted and be done with it. I don't know. It's ready to go on next and I need to just do it. I did start, I mentioned last episode, I did start this quilt. It's the Fancy Forest quilt by Elizabeth Hartman. I've had the pattern and I've had the fabric for a few years. And my plan is to make it, ooh, the sun's coming out. It's kind of stormy today. My plan is to make it for my niece for when she graduates, and she's 2 years till she graduates. So I know I have time, but I also know that I can get really sidelined with other stuff. So I kept putting it off because it was so much cutting, because I'm making the large size of it, which makes a 67 by 91. That's a big quilt. With a lot of pieces. And so, you know, it's a thick pattern. It's got a lot to it. And I know I can do it. I know I have the ability to do it. It's just like, oh, that's just going to suck cutting that out. And I kept putting it off. And so Jim the other day, he was like, what are you going to do today? I'm like, I really need to get that quilt cut out. And I just kept doing other stuff. He goes, you are so avoiding that. I said, I know, I don't want to cut it out. But I did. I ended up cutting it all out. You end up cutting from your fabric, like the strips of fabric that you need, and then put them together by animal. So I just put it in big Ziploc bags, all the pieces that I need to make the bunny, all the pieces I need to make the owl, whatever. So I have a Ziploc bag with all the fabric that's needed for the individual animals. So I started with the first one that came up in the pattern, which was the fox. And oh my gosh, is that not the cutest thing? I tell you, once I got going on it, I was like, oh, this is turning out so cute. And so you make, for that big size, you make 16 of all of the different animals and critters and stuff. I mean, I can show you all 16, but every time I put one together, I just thought, oh, I like that one. Oh, that one's really cute. Then I'm like, dang it, I don't know if I'm going to want to give this to her because it's so stinking cute. So you have 8 different color schemes, and you have a gradient of 5 fabrics within those 8 color schemes. And I put it all on the map. So she has you, so these are all my fabrics. That's what I chose to work with. And that took some time because I had fat quarter packs, and I still didn't have all the fabric that I needed because I needed to have a variation in value. And so I dug into my scraps. Like, this wasn't a fat quarter that I had. It was just fabric I had in my cupboard, but it works. And I mean, this one, that's even little foxes on the fox. I mean, come on, that's so cute. They're all so cute. So now that I have the pattern, it's like I can make it again. I don't usually remake quilts because once I've done it, I feel like I've done it. But for now, this is dang cute. Those little giraffes on that one. Oh, that one's hard to see because it's really light. It's one of the lighter shades. So all the foxes are done. My next animal is the bunny. And so that will be the next one that I tackle. I have a feeling, I'm saying this now, but if you all know me, I say lots of things and get very sidetracked. But I have a feeling I'm going to finish this before she graduates. So then the trick is going to be whether or not to give it to her early or hang on to it. I am not going to put it on my design wall to have as the background on my podcast because she does follow me on Instagram. And so when I post that there's a new episode, she would see that. And she knows I'm making it for her, but to see it in person, like I knew what it looked like, but then to see it in person was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. So I will continue to share progress of that. I'm getting warm. It was cold a minute ago. Oh, and this is my, in case you're wondering, okay, sorry. Let's go back a second. I will continue to share the progress on the quilt as I get going, as I go along on it on the podcast. I am not going to show anything on Instagram because I don't want her to see it. Okay. Now I'll tell you about my shawl. This is the shawl that my friend Leslie made me, and Good Vibes, I think is what it was. And so I was cold earlier. Not cold, just chilled, and so I just kind of threw it over my shoulders, but now I'm having a hot flash, so I'm not cold anymore. I wanted to do a product review, so to speak, of a product that I have been using now for a good couple of months, and it is the hand salve from Woolen & Company out of Seattle, Washington. They have an Etsy shop, and it is just like a hand lotion, hand salve. So I have been using it. This is almost, there's still quite a bit in there, but I've used it a lot. So this particular one is anti-inflammatory muscle balm. And I thought, okay, right, you're just going to rub this on. That's going to actually help something. When my hands get very sore, I have arthritis and bone spurs and things like that in my hands. And I would wake up in the morning like I can't move my hands. It took a while to like get things to sort of warm up. And so I had gotten this just because I thought, well, we'll see. I didn't have high expectations of it. And it was like after a week or so, I thought, gosh, my hands have been doing really good lately. I wonder if it's the weather. I wonder if it's whatever. And I thought, you know what? It's been ever since I started using this. So testimonial from me, this is awesome stuff. And it smells good. I also have the one it's just for Soothe. And I had gotten that for Jim because his hands get really dry because he uses a really harsh hand cleaner at work. Makes his hands very dry and it's like the tips of his fingers crack and stuff. But he would never use it. So I have that with my knitting stuff, and I'll just use that on my hands. But every night I make sure I put this stuff on, and it has helped my hands so much. So if you have aches and pains or anything like that, I highly recommend their warmth formula for their anti-inflammatory. It has arnica, comfrey, clove, and chili, and a sweet almond, bergamot. I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff in here, but it works. So I'll put the link to their shop down below. I'm going to get me some more because I don't want to run out. I like it so well. Let me see. Oh, I want to do a giveaway. Okay, so I did mail out my table runner. It went to a viewer who lives in Australia, so it's on its way. I don't know if it's there yet, but it's on its way. And I want to do another giveaway because the weather is going to get warmer around here anyway in the States. my friend Michelle from the Naughty Knitwits had gifted me or donated to me or whatever, gave me all these skeins of this bamboo pop. And I was going to start a sweater. In fact, I did start the sweater, and I just realized like it's just not going to be something that I'm going to wear. I just knew I wasn't going to do it. So I ended up taking it out. But I have 5 skeins of it. And so this is the skein that I ripped out of the sweater. So there is some kink in it, but it's, for the most part, it's a full skein. So you get 5 skeins. It's 50% cotton and 50% bamboo. There's 292 yards per ball, and there's 5 balls. So there's plenty for a sweater or a summer top or something like that. So I want to give it away to whoever thinks they could make something with it. Particularly, I think if you live in the warmer climates, then this would be good. So I'm going to just open a thread in Ravelry on the Creative Obsession podcast group. And I don't know if there'll be a prompt, or just put in there that you would like to win it. And I'll use random number generator and pick a winner and send this out to you. And I'll announce that on the next podcast in a couple of weeks. So the information about it will be in the Ravelry group. So just passing it on. Just because I can. Okay, let me get this out of the way. All right. I do have a couple of finished objects. Believe it or not, I actually finished something. So last week I showed you that I was making the Hitchhiker shawl, and I finished it. So I ended up adding a second color. Yeah. So I started it with my wildflower colorway, and I knew that it wasn't going to be big enough with just that one skein, so I added some orchid. I put a little stripe of the wildflower in the orchid, and it's done, and it's really cute, and I like it. I like the fact that it has that little punch of color. It is kind of an odd shape, but it works. So that's all finished, which is good. I'm not going to wear it now because I'm warm right now. So definitely, if you're going to make it, what I ended up doing, okay, I should give you specifics. It should have ended, I think, at the end of the lace section right here. And so what I did is I did another whole repeat of garter and the lace section. So I just did one extra repeat. And so it gave it another, 6 inches, which also added to the length of it. So it's an asymmetrical. I can't do this without like fussing in front of a camera, but I'm gonna whatever. I love it when people can just throw them on and it looks cute. I have to fuss. So yay! I'm glad it was done. I mean, I'm glad. I'm happy with it, I should say. Not like glad it's done. Kind of glad it's done, because then I can feel free to move on to other stuff. But yeah, I think it's pretty. I think it'll be a nice spring shawl based on just because of the colors I chose. Another project that I finished that I showed you last time. Oh, sorry, wrong one. That's not the Hitchhiker. I told you it was the Hitchhiker. It's the Nurmalintu. Okay, sorry, I got it all backwards. Okay, this is the Nurmalintu. Now I'm going to show you my finished Hitchhiker. Good gravy. Okay, so the finished Hitchhiker. I used 2 colors and did stripes. I guess there's not really a right or wrong way. I did put a link to the project page of the person on Ravelry that explained how to do it. I didn't have ends to weave in because of the way you switch colors down here at the different teeth. I ended up doing 3 more teeth, I think I figured. I probably could have gone with more, but I was done working on it, and I felt like it was long enough. So this I actually made for my friend Lori. And so I saw her the other day. She came to watch me quilt because she wanted to see me quilt on that. She's been wanting to see me quilt on my long arm, and when I got the bee quilt, it just worked out that she could come and watch me quilt. And so I gave her birthday present at that time, and I said, I'm sure you know what you're getting, because I had shown this on the podcast last time, and it's totally her colors, and I thought, oh, she's gonna know that's for her, but she said she didn't. So the colors are my it's iridescent, which is the lighter color that's got a combination of green and gray and purple and teal, and then the teal color is my totally teal. I did the iridescent is on the glitter base, so it has gold stellina in it. I don't know if you can see that. And then the teal was just regular. So this is a really good, like, car knitting, sit in front of the TV knitting that you don't really have to pay attention. It's kind of like doing socks or something. You only have to pay attention. Oops, do I have a slipped stitch? I have a something right there. No? I don't know. Something doesn't look right there. I'm gonna have to fix that. What was I saying? Oh, just it's just easy. You just have to pay attention when you're at the tooth end to do a little something something. But all done. Gifted. She let me keep it so that I could show it on the podcast, which was really nice. And it looks good on her. So now I have to, well, I'll find it. So, so then I got this idea. No, I didn't get an idea. I saw this new pattern on Knit Picks called the ribbon wrap. Have you guys seen this? It just looks like really cool. It's basically a long rectangle, so it's just something you wrap around your shoulders, kind of like a short blanket. And it's made out of worsted weight yarn, so you know it's going to go faster. I think it would be so cool with a light gray and then like eggplant purple and then a couple other shades of purple. You basically have your background color, which is the gray, and then 3 shades of a color. And so in this one, obviously they chose red, which I wouldn't wear, but I think that I love gray with purple. But I think it would be really cool. So I bought the pattern, obviously, and they made it with their Swish worsted, and I couldn't find 3 purple colors in that brand, in that yarn, to make the wrap out of, and I can dye some, but I thought, well, if I just can buy their, their yarn, I'll just do that. Well, I couldn't come up with the colors that I wanted. It went to like a really, really light, like lilac-y purple color, and it just didn't go with the other purples they had. So I think I'm going to dye some yarn to do this with, because it's just garter, so I think it's going to be one of those easy, like, take-along kind of projects. I think you make it in 2 pieces. I think you make like this section and connect it somehow after you've made it, something like that. I haven't looked through the whole pattern, but I'm really thinking I'm going to make it. I always, if it's a pattern that I think, yeah, there's a really good possibility I will make it, I will buy the pattern. I like to buy patterns. I did that when I was quilting. I'm like, I can afford $5 or $6 for a pattern. Even if I don't make it, I have it. So someday I may want to make it, and then I don't have to wonder where I saw it. But I think that could be kind of a cool pattern. I know I've got shawls and stuff like that, and oftentimes I don't wear them. It's just that I like to make stuff. So, I don't know, maybe I'll gift it to somebody. Who knows? So I have started a couple of new projects. Is that old? Oh, let me show you a work in progress it's an oldie. It's an oldie, but a goodie. I haven't shown it in a long time. I haven't worked on it in a long time, but I recently just took it out because I was finishing stuff and didn't have anything new to replace that with. And I thought, okay, so finish some of the things that have been languishing. Oh, I guess I don't have to take my needles out. So what I'm going to show you is my Find Your Fade. Now, the fade has faded. Like, no, everybody's done with their fade. They've moved on. But, mine's still hanging out. So, that's the back side. Okay. So, to remind myself, because it has been a while. So I started with kind of a raspberry pink, faded, did some Malabrigo, into this purple, and now I'm into like a dark purple. And it calls for another color, like this, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my 6th color, and it calls for 7 colors, but the last color you just use a little bit. So I'm going to go through the whole pattern, but I'm going to stay with this dark purple. I'm not going to put in a 7th color. So I'm just now starting the garter. Well, I've been doing garter, but I kind of like was fading. Now I'm just doing the dark purple. So, you know, I got it out. It will get done eventually. You know, it was hard because I don't remember what you did with this, and took a little bit to kind of figure out what I was supposed to do, but I'm there. I'm doing it. So that one will get done sooner than later. Okay, another work in progress that I wanted to share with you, and I want to talk a little bit about the yarn that I'm using for it. Allison, who has the For Knit Sakes podcast, and we've connected over Instagram and messaged and stuff like that, and she's got a really lovely podcast, and she's a very lovely person. She notified me and said, can I send you some magic cakes? Can I cake up some yarn from leftover sock yarn and stuff that she has from her makes, and make a cake and send it to me for my blanket? I said, well, of course. So she's made up a couple of cakes. I've already gotten into this one. And so what's fun about it is I don't know what's coming, because it's not yarn that I've used. And it was just so generous and thoughtful. So she just magic knotted and then caked them up, and it's equivalent to over 200 grams. So I've got over 2 skeins of yarn between the two. It was very thoughtful. Allison, thank you so much. You're such a sweetheart. That was just really sweet. So I've already started putting it in my blanket, and I haven't shown my blanket in quite a while. Now I haven't gotten very far because I had put it down for quite a while. Now I got to try and untangle myself. But some of you may not have seen it. I'm doing a corner to corner style crochet blanket using up my leftover sock yarn from different projects. So started with the red and worked my way through the first blanket that I had started. I was doing like a wavy pattern, but I wasn't good enough at crocheting to really tackle that. This is way easier. So I've already gone through that, and I've already started adding some of Allison's yarn in it. And like I said, it's really kind of fun because I don't know what's coming up. And this is going to be like such a nice blanket when it's done. So what I'm doing, because you build diagonally, is I'm just keeping an eye on how wide this is. And when it gets to be the width, I don't know, maybe 50-ish inches, I think I'll go for width, then I stop increasing, and then you just start making it, just start building it lengthwise. And then when you get it as long as you want it, then you start decreasing, and it'll end up making a big rectangle. And so it's, you know, I've got a long ways to go. This is sock yarn. It doesn't build up that fast. But anyway, yeah. So that's been good because I have finished some of those other projects, and I was sort of just like, what am I going to work on next? I know I need to finish some of the things I have going. I know. But that is something really sweet. So if anybody's like wanting to treat somebody, not me necessarily, but I'll take it if you want to. That's kind of a neat idea, is to take your yarn and just cake it up for somebody, and then they can just use it. So they almost look like, what do they look like? I'm thinking something like some stone or something. I don't know. I love it though. So yeah, so my blanket's coming along. And then I cast on a couple new things because I don't have to say why. I just did. Darn it. Okay, so I was watching Christy. let me get all my pieces here. I was watching Christy's podcast, Relatively Crafty, and she was making a stuffy called Noodle. It's a Susan Claudino pattern. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to make a noodle. Because that looks just like Ella, my niece Ella. It looks just like her dog. And I thought, oh, wouldn't that be cute to make her something that she can have as a little mascot in her car, because she's going to get her license on her birthday, or near her birthday. She's going to be 16. So I started a noodle. So what I thought, well, it calls for worsted. Christy's making hers out of Felici, out of sock yarn. And I thought, well, I could do that, but I kind of wanted it to be a little bit bigger. So I thought about doubling up on the fingering. So the first thing you make is the nose. It is a paid for pattern. So I doubled up fingering, and I was getting too many holes. And I thought, well, the stuffing's just going to poke through that. I didn't really want to go down a needle size because it was already, like tight enough. And so I thought, okay, that's just not going to work. And then I thought, you know what? You have some really, really bright Red Heart yarn. So it's just acrylic yarn, which actually is fine because, who knows what's going to end up happening to it. And it's a bright neon pink. So I have a nose done, and I did buy some safety eyes and noses, which I've never used before. So this is the schnozzle, and then this is the body, and I just stuffed it, and then you go on to making the head. So but this yarn, it's tight, the gauge is tight enough that you can't see the stuffing stuff stick through it. So I'm getting there. Her birthday's not until the first part of June, so I've got time. But yeah, it's actually it's fun. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer sort of project. So I got to get the head done, and then you got to put the eyes on. See, I have to read how to put the safety eyes and nose things on. I haven't looked at that, and get that all done. So I'm gonna make a noodle, and it'll be oh, and Peanut was on, her dog Peanut was on the podcast. Gosh, it was over the summer, I think. And she came, and we had a craft day, and she did pour painting with me, and Peanut was here. So I don't know, I think it's kind of funny. Maybe it's only funny to me, but humor me. So then my friend Janine came out with that 70s tee, and it's a short sleeve raglan style t-shirt type sweater, and you make the raglan sleeves in stripes. So I cast on for that, and I've got my sleeves made. So you make the raglan sleeve, which they just look kind of bizarre, but they go like that. And then that attaches at some point to the sweater. So I just blocked these so that they'll be easier to seam and stuff. I'm not sure. Where's my other end? I have a feeling that's going to be too tight. So I may have to rip back probably to here-ish and do more increases to make the next size up, because I think that there's not going to be enough positive ease for me. I don't like things to be clingy. I like things to be loose and flowy. But the colors I'm using this is a new colorway. This is kind of the first version of it. So I'm still working it out, but I think I've got the formula, and it's going to be, I believe, in unicorns. And then my striping, which my striping is very subtle. Her striping in the pattern is really bold. My striping is going to be really subtle. And this is just a color, kind of blown out, but it's like a periwinkle. And so that goes. So the sweater will be just this, and then the sleeves will just look like they're a little bit bluer, kind of more periwinkly colored. So got a theme going on here. You notice the color scheme? So yeah, I am liking it. I'm just concerned it's going to be too tight, too snug fitting. So I've got gauge and everything, but I just think, the way that the pattern even is, is that it's just a more form-fitting style, which isn't the way I wear my clothes. So I have to just figure out how to do it. But she's also offered a free pattern as a giveaway for you guys. So I'm going to open a thread in the Ravelry group, and if you would like to receive a free pattern, Janine does write really good patterns. I just kind of take it one step at a time. I've only hand knitted one other sweater, so I'm just hoping that that I can actually make it, because I don't know how that all connects. But you take it one step at a time, just like with the quilt. You start when you do one step at a time, and you get there. So that's all of my crafty stuff. On a more personal note, we went and played bingo last night, which makes me sound so old. But there's a brew pub in a nearby town, and so on Wednesday nights they alternate having either trivia night or bingo night. And so last night was their last bingo night, so Jim and I went, and I did win a bingo. I got some Starbucks hot chocolate, so I did win a little prize. But next week it's going to be 80s trivia, and so I'm excited because I think 80s trivia is right up our alley. We're gonna go, and they had really good cider. Oh, I'm not a beer drinker, but I do like cider, and Jim had some beer and he liked it. There's a show that we watched on Netflix, and it's called Wild Wild Country. It's like a series, and it's a documentary style show talking about when back in the 80s, when the Rajneesh came and kind of took over Central Oregon. And we lived it, we remember a lot of that from when they came. It's a very bizarre story. It was a very bizarre time. And so the documentary kind of goes into a lot of the behind the scenes things that were happening that as the public, we didn't know. And it was very interesting. And we found it interesting, I think, because we lived it. It was like, oh gosh, I remember that. And there's a lot of news footage and all that kind of stuff. And back when they were over where they were and kind of taken over, we had gone rafting. Jim and I and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and I think a couple other friends, and we were rafting on the John Day River, which went along the edge of their property. And we're just floating on a raft. It was an overnight thing, and it happened to be in a spot where the river was fairly slow, so you're just sort of floating slowly. And these men all of a sudden just sort of show up on the hillsides holding guns. And we're like, holy crap, what the heck is going on? And they just stood there and watched us float by. And it was the weirdest feeling because they promoted themselves as being all like, it's all about love and it's all about, we just love each other. And it was sort of like a hippie community type of thing. Like, then you don't need to have assault rifles and watch people float by. Like, what did you think we were going to do? And so, of course, it was the slow part of the river. And you're like, you want to kind of like scooch faster. So we did paddle a little bit because it kind of freaked us out. Like, what the heck was that? Well, now watching the series and you see some of that background stuff, it's like, oh, I see what was going on. It's really a good thing that we just kept on going because that was weird. They were really weird. But it was an interesting show to watch. And so that now that that's over, I'm looking for something else to watch. And it gets a little slow in the summer, although my favorite show ever, So You Think You Can Dance, is going to start in May, and I just hope they don't screw it up. But that is my most favorite show ever. That starts up for the summer. So that really is all I have. I thought I was going to have more. I guess I just went through it really fast. I hope I didn't forget to say something. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's it. Thank you to everybody who took part in my spring cleaning sale that I had in my shop. Follow me on Instagram if you ever want to have notifications on anything that's going on in the shop, because I will post it there, and you never know when I randomly decide to do something like that. So thank you to everybody. That was very successful, and I appreciate all of your business. And I will continue to come up with some new colorways, hopefully, and plans for some new things. So stay in touch with that. So thank you so much. I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, make all the things.